Welcome to this session. Let me introduce today's speaker, Mr. Mohan Kalayappan sir. Uh, Mohan Kalayappan sir obtained his bachelor's degree in production engineering from NIT Trichy. So far he has 39 years of experience in different sectors like automotive, industrial, and aerospace. He has actively worked in various R&Ds like WABGO, Maruti Suzuki, and he has involved in hydraulic brakes, disc brakes development, and clutch reverse engineering, supply chain management, and manufacturing. He has involved in reverse engineering for Vizag Steel plant parts. He has QMS at G-Plast and Genetics. He is a principal consultant in TCS Global Sourcing. He is also worked as a project manager in Daimler India. In that, he has worked in R&D and prototypes built. He is a subject matter expert in Axis cadres, and he is a ISI certified Six Sigma black belt and ASQ certified reliability engineer. He is a classical member in SAE and a life member in Aeronautical Society of India. He is an internal trainer for Airbus Fuselage Development Center of India, and his interest includes augmented reality, drones, 3D printing, electric vehicles, and Internet of Things. So, on behalf of RMK College of Engineering and Technology, Department of Mechanical Engineering, and other coordinators and faculty of Mechanical Engineering, we welcome Mr. Mohan Kalayappan sir for his presentation. Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir. Please.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for that wonderful introduction, Karthik. Thanks a lot. Good morning, friends. It's a very interesting topic, and I'm really fortunate to present it under the Atal FDP program. I believe it is named after the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, if I'm not wrong. I'm really honored to give this presentation under this program named after him, after this legendary personality, of course, who is no more now. So I pray to him to bless me to give it to the fullest expectation of all the faculty and other participants. Okay, so this is recent trends. We are going to discuss about recent trends in design and growth opportunities in India. Am I audible, please, Karthi and Dr. Bipin?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay. Hope I'm not too loud. Is it okay? Or should I come closer to the laptop?
Yes, sir. Comfortable, sir. Your voice is comfortable. It's clear, sir. You can continue.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Now it is 11:48. Okay. So we'll have to keep pressing ahead. 1 minute, please. 1 minute. There is a disturbance here. The clock will be. Okay, I'm back. The minor interruption. Sorry for the. So I'm back here. Sorry about it. Am I audible now, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sorry, there was a minor interruption. Yeah. Okay, good. So let us not get distracted by this interruption. Let us focus on the topic being discussed. So I'll try to cover in this very short time frame introduction to the concepts which we're going to discuss and about systems approach. As engineers, we become conversant with handling projects using systems engineering approach, and we'll discuss something about energy efficient design configurations. The energy is the thing which is going to be in huge shortage with global warming and all. Lighting and recovery routes. Like you can use the engine subsystems like alternator also to some is in constant, chain, it is permanently, on belt drive, permanent belt drive. There are basic Indian ideas which are of Indian company appreciating Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai, and all. Okay.
Sir, excuse me,
India,
sir, one sec.
yeah.
Yeah, some breaking is
Audio-
there, sir, in your voice. Audio is breaking. No, sir, no, sir. Breaking, sir. Audio is not clear.
On the hotspot, let me see if so I have to restart if I give the alternate connection. Please. Okay. Am I audible now, please?
Yes, sir, yes, sir. Now.
Good that it is automatically connecting to the other circuit. Thanks a lot. Thanks to the electronics and software engineers. Okay, so let us talk about some of the Indian companies who are ready to supply subsystems, components. So anybody trying to design and assemble an Indian electric vehicle, I think most of the things are now available in India. Okay, and what are the opportunities? Mainly in terms of career opportunities for young engineers who are trying to get a job or who are so enthusiastic about entering the electric vehicle bandwagon. Let us see. So in introduction, I am saying all this. Project plan, there is problem definition, project definition, hand holding. Basically, I want to take the faculty through a hand holding methodology, starting from basics. Of course, mostly it will be very valuable for mechanical engineers, but most of the concepts we are going to discuss here about project methodology, design methodology, project management or program management methodology will be useful for electrical, electronics, and software engineers also. I hope all of the faculty can benefit from this. Okay, so design approach we are going to recommend. Actually, we are recommending a collaborative approach and concurrent engineering, which is also known as simultaneous engineering in US. A collaborative approach means suppliers, it is sub-suppliers, customers, and government agencies like ARAI and Department of Heavy Industries, Department of Transport, the Ministry of Transport in India. All of them should work together. Then only we can get success. And design tools. What are the design tools? What are the techniques like Six Sigma, reliability engineering? Actually, tools includes software and hardware also, like sensors and various software platforms which are now available to, the simulation, test, simulation, design, and completely simulate everything in the computer before actually going to the first prototype. Product realization, that is making the prototype for road test prototype or something like that, and commercialization, how to make the product ready for market. Okay. Am I audible now, sir? Screen is visible? Screen is visible? Okay, there is something has gone wrong. I think probably I pressed something by mistake. Okay, I think it is reconnected. When it reconnects, we'll have to do that all over again. Yes, that's it. Correct. Is it now visible, sir? Yeah, I think it's now getting. Okay, we'll go. I think. Okay, I think in spite of all these interruptions, we will have to go ahead with knowledge delivery. Thank you. Okay, so product realization. Shall I cut the call, sir? Okay, I think getting the echo feedback through that cell phone. Okay, so project plan and product realization, commercialization, that is making the product suitable for taking it to the market, or selling your product idea to some company which is ready to buy your design and manufacture and market, and then benefit from that. Probably they will pay you royalty for your design. So continuous improvement processes. Once you make an electric vehicle, that's not the. Am I audible? Am I audible, please?
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
Okay, so once you make an electric vehicle prototype or a limited edition run of some 10 electric vehicles and float it in the market, the story doesn't stop there. You may have to continuously get feedback that is much more important than the process completed thus far. You may have to continuously improve by way of many engineering changes. And we will also touch upon the application of statistical techniques, since I am a Six Sigma black belt and a reliability engineer. Okay, so what are the top level characteristics, the parameters or the factors to be considered? Basically, we'll start from car body weight. Since the range anxiety starts from the gross vehicle weight or the curb weight of the car, curb weight in US and gross vehicle weight in India. That's kilogram per horsepower. That is the factor you have to consider. So you have to benchmark it with the current IC engine vehicles. That is the correct Six Sigma route. And lightweighting by using plastics, by replacing metals by plastics. So you're switching off from steel to aluminum parts, carbon fiber reinforced plastics, ultra high strength steels. There are very strong steels. So you can actually reduce the weight of the cross section members, like side crash beam in the car door, hatch section and other section. So actually the weight will come down, but the strength will still remain the same. And power density of the power source, which is a battery, lithium ion or whatever, kilowatt hours per kilogram, or they are calling it as kilowatt hours per liter. They're calling it as a cubic capacity. So this is very, very, very critical. And price parity along with the conventional IC engine cost. It's very important, especially the motor cost is very costly, and battery cost. Battery cost is up to 40-50% of the total cost. And the motor is one of the costliest elements. So unless you bring economy of scale, unless you start producing in very high mass scale of production, you can't bring the car to the comparable car or vehicle to the comparable price of the existing market, which is a problem now. Entry blockages are there. Okay, the buyer psychology is very, when we will come clockwise. Peak torque, on-demand peak torque. When your vehicle is climbing on a flyover, a lot of cities with a lot of flyovers and all that. So when it goes to the peak torque, when it climbs an upward slope, so 20 degree, 30 degree, something like that, the peak torque, sudden demand on the motor, on the battery and motor system to deliver peak torque, whether it's available. This will decide, because IC engines have proven themselves to be extraordinarily well for such things. And acceleration, there is sudden acceleration after braking or after getting into a traffic jam or after clearing a signal. It's very important. And reliability characteristics for battery, for the motor and for the car, separately to be calculated. The mean time between failure, service interval, and mean time to failure, that is total lifespan, design lifespan, mean time to repair, that is the downtime. So these are very critical. Sorry. So energy conservation is very important. So regenerative braking is very, very important. Probably you can add a solar panel also, and there are various systems. And ecosystem. So you need a charging infrastructure, batteries. We have seen all these in previous sessions. And the modular design is very, very important. If you don't make it modular design, and there are any engineering revisions or any supplier changes, a different supplier, you will have from a different supplier. You have to stop import and start making from Indian supplier, then it may become difficult. The modular design is easier. But sometimes it interferes with reliability, and that can be easily addressed. The buyer psychology is important. The features, it should be feature packed, and even sentimental analytics and such techniques are used. Okay, so now, sorry, challenges. What are the peculiarities of Indian market? India is a highly cost-sensitive market, and for a consumer, fuel economy is very important. The fuel prices are very high because it is so throughout the world. Emission safety or not consumer, it is all set by government. The consumers do not bother about emission and safety also. And peculiarity is the driving pattern, the driving discipline, the traffic jams, the road conditions. Even city roads also have huge potholes and huge speed breakers, complex duty cycles. So huge speed breaker means supposing you just brake just in front of a speed breaker when you had it. Most of the electric vehicles, like Riva, they had to struggle to climb over them. They used to go backwards. So this is one of the reasons the buyer psychology is still not good, not in favor of electric vehicles. Environmental conditions, long sustained abusive usage, overloading is very much prominent in India. It's prevalent in India, and even for passenger cars, auto rickshaws, two-wheelers. Quite often 2-3 guys will drive a two-wheeler, ride a two-wheeler. Fuel adulteration, lack of standardized road infrastructure, strong local manufacturing base is still not there for electric vehicles. Relevance of technology to India is very important. So we will try to cover, we'll try to see how Six Sigma, and reliability engineering concepts can be applied in developing electric vehicles. Like Six Sigma concepts like regression modeling, we can also use it for, it's one of the mathematical modeling techniques. Of course, they are, I don't know whether it's 0 dimension or 1 dimension, but it is easy for understanding for beginners. So we don't want to go into complex differential calculations and matrices and determinants at a lower level, like the level of a faculty or even a junior most faculty. They can easily understand what is a regression modeling because it's a 2-dimensional graph. And reliability engineering, DFMEA, PFMEA, that is design failure mode effects analysis, process failure mode effects analysis, and fault tree analysis. So why electric vehicle not getting adopted very fast around the world? One is the range anxiety. These red bars are basically problems. And okay, we'll see the plus points. Reduced pollution, but no buyer is really bothered about pollution being reduced when he buys an electric vehicle. Basically, what he's aiming for is low maintenance costs. Why low maintenance costs? Electric vehicle has got very few parts compared to, much fewer parts compared to an IC engine vehicle. So that really gives a very good reliability, very high reliability for electric vehicles. And of course, we have fuel costs and other economic incentives from the government, low noise, all this. Okay, how low parts means more reliability? How is it? Supposing you assemble some subsystems, electrical or mechanical subsystems in series, purely in series. If you have only 2 parts in 2 sub-elements, 2 blocks in the series, the reliability is very high. You can see here, supposing for the sub parts, the reliability is on the x-axis, component reliability, and the ultimate system reliability is in series considering from input to output. Here it is 0.7 if it's got only 2. If you've got 20 parts, each subsystem with the same input reliability level of say 0.9 here, it comes down to less than 0.1. 0.1 is the reliability, that is complete car reliability, a complete electrical subsystem reliability, electric system reliability. It has got 20 parts in series for electrical or mechanical. This graph is both for electrical and mechanical. So there are 20 parts like gear, motor, belt, transmission, clutch, or whatever, brake, final wheel. If it has got 20 elements with each with 0.9 reliability, the overall drivetrain reliability, mechanical reliability comes to 0.1. So drivetrain, they're saying Tesla has got 17 parts. IC engine vehicle of comparable capacity has got 200 parts. So, and that is why what you do, you combine, you consolidate parts, about some 5-6 parts. So it is there in the alternator regulator of Lucas TVS. You have a regulator here. This regulates the current and then charges the battery. And what happens, there are about 6-7 components have been molded into a printed circuit board. A sheet metal part as a conductor is all molded inside. There's a heat sink is there, which comes directly over the electronic portion, and there's a plug also here. The single part replaces some 7 parts. Otherwise, if there are some loose wiring near highly fast rotating components, it can cause a lot of problems. And the brushes are there, and pulley, there's a bearing here, there's a rotating armature here. So this reliability is one of the examples. If you reduce the number of parts, the reliability of the system goes up. So this is called parts consolidation. Mix all the elements and make it like a single replaceable part. Okay, mission critical parameters are very critical. Key success parameter is, these are some national experts saying that Sheshu Bhagatulu, he's saying that $200 per kilowatt hours, that is a benchmark. Battery cost should come down below that. Then only people will be tempted to buy diesel engines. And another expert is the government joint venture Energy Efficiency Services Limited, is under Ministry of Power, Mr. N. Mohan. He says when battery costs come down to $160 per kilowatt hour per bike and 190 for bus, then only those electric vehicles will become favorable and people will start buying. Okay, so we'll go into what is a project definition. Sorry, that started going down. The project definition, basically you have to start with the project charter or defining what is your problem. So whether you want to make some electric vehicle to run around throughout your institute campus, or whether you are designing something to how to push it off. I don't. Okay. So whether you are designing some electric vehicle for a commercial customer outside in a collaborative mode, along with that R&D of that company like Tata Motors or Leyland or Hyundai, Maruti. So first of all, you have to select whether you want to make a two-wheeler, three-wheeler, or four-wheeler. So let us assume you have zeroed in on a four-wheeler. So you have to write a spec book. That specification book is the first part of the project. So product definition, pricing, and component subsystems, availability of those subsystems in India. You cannot make all the systems by yourselves. You may have to buy a lot of things from others. So product benchmarking using, we will share all the things. Very good. So we'll definitely share all the slides. So product benchmarking is very important. So you compare the competitors, vehicles, go for regression benchmarking. Supposing you want to copy some imported design, that's possible, but that is subject to intellectual property, rights infringement and all. And you'll have to collect road load data. In which roads, in which city, or whether it's a city road, whether it's a city vehicle or a rural vehicle, you'll have to collect the data. And you can even retrofit. Supposing you have a Riva or an old Maruti car, you are confident of getting RTO certifications, and you can remove the IC engines and drivetrain and fit your electrical systems. So resources, it depends. The design you select and finalize will depends on the funds, teams, tools. Tools mean software and testing devices and mechanical tools. And testing, laboratory track, that is where you have a test track inside your campus, or you want to go to somewhere outside where you can buy the sensors and government permission. It's a huge process because it's safety related matter. And project management, and first fill the prototype, then do the bench test. It's called A sample, and the road test prototype sample. Then you, after taking feedback from the road test run, you do engineering revisions. Then you do design for cost. Design for cost, you should have started here itself. And the price benchmarking is done here as an additional design for cost. And final version of the product, investment in manufacturing like jigs and fixtures, tools, quality engineering, that is methodology, gauges, screening setups, that is online screening tests. So we go through waterfall flow diagram, boundary diagram or functional block diagram, structure diagram. Structure nets are also made nowadays. Requirement specifications, that is the voice of the customer are captured in terms of requirement specifications. These become the inputs for the designer, and this is called a parameter diagram by Kenichi Taguchi. This is an input for design failure mode effects analysis, and of course mathematical modeling also will use these things. Parameter diagram is one of the inputs for regression modeling. And benchmarking. Benchmarking basically, it's collecting data from competition, market data. You can benchmark against some equivalent IC engine also, equivalent IC engine of the same kilowatt or horsepower capacity. And prototype building, testing, engineering revisions, product release, feedback, incorporation. We have already discussed that. So we have to basically understand where we will charge, whether the plug standards and all they match or not. And SAE, IEEE, ARA, they work on these standards. So basically, you should have a Gantt chart. You should start with target definition, concept, powertrain design, component design, realization, component test, and all. But this goes, mostly should go concurrently, but they get staggered. Okay, so first of all, you collect the user requirements like market survey, urban drive cycle data collection. That is by basically you fit some load sensors and vibration sensors, collect the data. If you cannot collect the data, you can buy the data by paying to organizations like ARAI. they can give you. If you say that I want Mumbai or Pune do a drive duty cycle, they will give you, but at a price. So benchmarking and components availability, compliance. So you have to comply with local standards. Otherwise, they may not give you permission even to make a prototype. Even if it is running inside your campus, you will need some kind of permission. So the budgets and market constraints, they have overbearing effect on our choice. Energy density is very critical. CTQ is a terminology used in Six Sigma, critical to quality, that is called CTQs. Energy density, battery. I'm not able to see the chat because I'm on full screen mode. I'll come to all of this at the end of this presentation. Okay, design for cost is very important because everything is cost. The cost decides. Cost overrules even engineers. Okay, the promoters, investors, they can overrule the complete team of engineers working on it. So it's very important. Is we have to realize and accept. Range per charge versus battery swap. Which concept you're going to select? And design for reliability. That's very important. A car, automobile has been there for a long time, and the automobile has been a model reliability model in the whole of the common life for human beings. Automobile has evolved into one of the highly reliable mechanisms in our day-to-day life. So we should bring equivalent reliability, at least at some threshold reliability for the new model. Design for service, very important. So automobile can be easily serviced, but a new electric vehicle also should be serviceable. And trade-offs, what are the compromises you'll have to do in design? They are called trade-offs. Okay, design for cost, it's called DFX. X is replaced by anything, cost, reliability. Design for service. Design for environment is recycling. Design for Six Sigma. Design for manufacturability. Design for testability. Design for manufacturability also is called design for manufacturability and assembly. Okay, so what the connection between AP, QP and systems engineering? AP, QP, as you all know, maybe you might have been exposed to QS 9000. It's also known as IATF, all these things, AIA, AAGA, there's a German Automotive Industry Association. There is nothing but the parallel of systems engineering followed by entities like NASA, Boeing, Airbus, Honeywell, Raytheon. So like fault tree analysis. Basically, it's a quantitative approach. We will be following design failure mode effects analysis, which is a qualitative approach. In fault tree analysis, insufficient fuel in a car, they say that AND and OR gates, fuel used a 0.2 probability and no fuel from tank 0.0 to probability. Ultimately, it works out to insufficient fuel will happen 0.032 out of 1. That is 3% out of 3% of the times insufficient fuel can happen. This is normally fault tree analysis used as a post-accident or post-event analysis, not useful as a DFMEA. So it happened in Boeing 787 Dreamliner, lithium-ion battery supplied by GS Yuasa, Japan, really exploded in mid-flight, and they grounded all the aircrafts and they did fault tree analysis. Supposing you are a lithium-ion battery manufacturer, this Yuasa applies to automotive companies also. So they can learn from the failure of the aircraft application and try to, because there was insufficient cooling while discharging, it was getting sorry, I think while discharging, what happened was while discharging, it got overheated, and then it blew up, and they learned from that and did. Okay, Boeing 787 Dreamliner GS Yuasa battery failure, this is what I mentioned. They predicted 1 in 10 million flight hours, one problem will come, one failure will come. But actually 2 episodes happened in 52,000 flight hours. So they had to really ground everything. So this is the problem. When even US, they calculate, reliability, they made such serious mistake. And design for reliability, we will be at various stages, concept phase, design phase, development phase. So you have FMEA here. We'll not see all of this because we don't have time. FMEA here, and fault tree analysis also will come here and somewhere here as failure analysis. Failure analysis, FTA is one of the failure analysis methods, and various things are there. Okay, each stage has to give feedback to the previous stage. That is how it slows down into a good product. Okay, fault tree analysis versus FMEA. I said already, FTA is a post-accident investigation. FMEA is done before the product design. So it's called proactive, preemptive, and preventive, and all that. Okay, so systems engineering approach, we are showing an example, AVL Germany subsystem manufacturer. It worked along with another company to manufacture a range extended electric vehicle. Basically, it's an electric car which had a range extender like this. It had a Wankel engine, that is an IC engine, I think it was using methanol or some fuel here. I see in the later specification sheet. And that runs, it's coupled on the same crankshaft. It's not a crankshaft, it's a straight shaft, which is a drive shaft. And that runs, this engine runs on the generator, and there is a battery pack here. So this is used for range extension, this mechanism. So this is what they have decided as a range extender concept. And they made some prototype vehicles, and it is mass produced now. So that for that they use the waterfall diagram. I think we are all very familiar with the V type of model: target definition, concept, powertrain design, component design. At each stage, feedback will be flowing back to the left side, system level, component level, and then again you come back to system level. Okay, yesterday we talked about 0D and then go into 1D, 2D, then come back again to 0D and all that. So component test, realization, implementation, component test, powertrain test, in-vehicle test, and field test. So we'll have to do like that. So these are various graphs. They actually calculated at various driving speeds on various modes, various kilometer ranges, what is the power requirement. So how much is the power reserve? What are the possible distances within the available power, remaining power, and what are the accelerations possible? All that they studied and they plotted. Probably you can study it leisurely when you get when it's shared with you. So they also compared internal combustion engine and that is a generator starter. They call it generator starter system, and NVH package, the green and all plus plus. They found ultimately that this kind of configuration is good. That is this permanent motor synchronous machine. This is what they how they collect statistical data. How much persons they collected? A lot of citizens, driving public. They collected and then they found it's a truncated normal distribution. They found that more than 70% of the vehicles do not exceed 50 kilometers per day travel. That is, per day the vehicle doesn't travel beyond 50 kilometers for more than 70% of the time. Maybe for the whole year, so many specimens sampled, persons, human beings were sampled and analyzed. This is one of the very interesting applications of starting from statistical methodology rather than from any feelings or any experts' inputs. So city vehicles, electric vehicle beyond 70 kilometers, this has to be used range extender. So very, very nicely they concluded. So, okay, city drive, you'll have to collect these data. I think these are available from European governments are giving the cycle itself. They have collected statistical data and then they are saying that any electric vehicle should follow this. And SAE also has given standard driving cycle, accelerate, cruise, decelerate, stop for some time and all that. City, non-city, various variable route, urban, variable route, suburban, like the ABC, so many things are available. What is BCD and all is here. Yeah, BCD, there is no A here, there are BCD. You can see all that leisurely, and they have taken a government bus, city bus, traveling through the Florence city. I think it's in Italy. And they have collected GPS data, and at each point, what was the bus doing, what was the acceleration, deceleration, state of charge, trend. They correlated perfectly, and this is how they go about. There is a data logger in the vehicle itself. It is used in a Canadian city. Daily utilization, running, bulk charge, opportunity charge. Opportunity charge is something different. When it is actually idling, waiting for passengers, it is able to generate through inductive charging or something. It's called opportunity charge. This was made by Mitsubishi IME. It's a car. Okay, so decide on the route and fit sensors on current IC engine vehicles. Basically, you can collect the load, shock data, vibration. IC engine vehicle, maybe it can collect data if you decide to use your campus road internally. Also, you can do. And basically, you collect range, mean speed, torque, what is the torque requirement. There are torque sensors available. Torque data also can be collected. Stop, start cycles, all that. Okay, so these are the sensor manufacturers. These sensors are available in India, mostly Bangalore, Mumbai, Pune, Hyderabad, and all. Okay, you can collect. And there's a battery. I think we don't have time for that. Regression, I want to explain what is regression. In US, about 20-25 cars. This was done about 10-15 years back. So they have collected data, Acura, Toyota Corolla, now you can see Ford Probe, Dodge Daytona, Ford Mustang, all should be equivalent category vehicles. You should not mix the truck or bus data with this, then the regression will go wrongly. And they've done this regression benchmarking for some, the minimum 20-25 points are required to get a meaningful regression formula from the software output as a software output. Gross vehicle weight or kerbed weight on the x-axis, city miles per gallon. That in India it is kilometers per liter. So they found that as the weight of the car increases, basically the mileage comes down. Very interesting, you know. You get a mathematical equation. So you'll have to do it for current IC engine vehicles or electric vehicles, whichever some 5-6 vehicles, successful vehicles are available in India. They are being accepted by the market. Then you can plot them. For 5-6 points, it will be a very weak regression, but still it's better than nothing. It's a starting point. So these are all the data for that. And they obtained this regression equation. Y is equal to 2.33. That is, Y means miles per gallon is equal to 2.33 plus 2.4 into the vehicle weight. So they got it as a very simple regression. So I think it was 97.8% confidence level for this. So good. So if you have Minitab, MS Excel, or some equivalent software, you can run that and get it. So we'll not go into this because they benchmark various things: weight, displacement. There is cubic capacity, number of cylinders, horsepower, transmission size, number of gears, various things were benchmarked, and this is what they got. Basically, it's called a multivariate chart. You can take any X or Y here, you can find out that graph. Of course, the graphs have become very small now. You get a formula, should not be design failure. Okay, so for aerospace also we do. So something like the maximum gross weight of the aircraft is equal to number of passengers. How to calculate maximum gross weight of the aircraft based on the passenger capacity. So you can calculate this kind of things. Okay, suggested data collection approach, number of signals, intersections. 92% it will drive in city, 8% it will go in long distance, something like that you can assume. Mean waiting time at signals, number of speed breakers. Okay, you can go through all of this, you can get it. So this is what you should do. And motor characterization you have to do for the particular motor you have selected from a supplier. And torque characteristics at various slopes, because every city has got flyovers now. 7.6% slope, 3.8% slope. Sometimes they would have exceeded the National Highway Authority specified slope also. Yeah, and Six Sigma says, for diesel engine it is like this. For electric motor it is like this. For diesel engine, basically, I think I'll put it in vibratory mode. You may not hear. Okay. So basically, Six Sigma experts say you should select the useful range in a reasonably flat portion of the curve. It's very important. But there is no reasonably flat portion in the electric motor. Doesn't matter. We'll have to select somewhere here, not here, because it seems to be coming down very steeply. So you should select somewhere here. So all these are very required. Very much required. Electric motor, IC engine characteristics, and the system block diagram. You'll have to have a structure or functional block diagram or boundary diagram. So you have to start with that. So this is a general boundary diagram or block diagram for electric vehicle system. And interestingly, Audi e-tron, there's a parallel drive. The IC engine at the front axle, it drives the front axle. And once the IC engine it runs out of fuel, probably they will use it as electric vehicle, and you can use it vice versa also. And electric motor is at the rear axle driving the two wheels. It's a completely parallel system. So it's called a parallel drive architecture. So you can develop any architecture which is suitable for you. So Maruti Baleno, they're saying it is a hybrid electric vehicle, and they have given an interesting definition, interesting conversion here. 1 liter of gasoline is equal to 8.9 kilowatt hours of electricity. So that was the comparison used to benchmark with IC engines. And it was used for a diesel emission drive cycle, which can be used for electric vehicle also. These are the things. They did finite element analysis, and there's a functional block diagram. So once this range extender is switched on, then this functional block diagram opens. And the range extender start, run, stop, off, in various models. So you should be able to give a high level functional block diagram. If you have to design something, you should be able to make sort of a functional block diagram, or what is called a structural diagram, or boundary diagram. The DFMEA calls it as boundary diagram. So there are modular designs. You can extend it by adding one more assembly. The axle, the center shaft will become longer. And it's very interesting. The Germans are very fond of such over engineering. They have made it as a highly scalable. For higher kilowatt, you have to add one more sub assembly here, like hydraulic, power pack, hydraulic pressure pumps. You can add something like that, Parker pump and all like that. They have made it. So modularity in design is very important. Then you can scale up. Scalability will always be there. QFD, there is quality function deployment, DFMEA, PFMEA, FTA, digital twin. All these are very important. And here, concept design stage, FMEA, development stage, FMEA, design of experiments, and there's in the process FMEA you have to do when you manufacture or when you in an assembly shop. You do process FMEA and process capability studies like statistical process control, CP, CPK, all you have to do. And this is the AIAGA VDA. You can see all that. This is a handbook. This is German Automotive Industry Association and the American Automotive Department. They have made it. Siemens, Mercedes-Benz, these are all the contributory authors of that. Volkswagen, these are the best practices of these companies have gone into making this. Basically, design, failure mode effects analysis, and process FMEA should go parallelly. Should start immediately when you do DFMEA. You should also start process FMEA. And this is a concept, program approval, planning, product and process validation. The production starts here, and feedback is all through, right from the initial concept up to the end of the life of the vehicle. End of the life cycle of the vehicle. So you should be capable of making such schematic diagrams. What are the interactions between various sub-assemblies, sub-elements? It is an exhaust gas recirculation system as example. That is a FMEA example. And the fault tree analysis is here, cause and effect tree for a lighting failure. I think in the car, how the light fails. Probably you can go through it in depth later. There's a fishbone diagram also is another methodology. And Tesla digital twin. For every car produced in the production line, they have a digital twin. So they will be able to analyze it later on. When if there is a problem reported from the market, they can see what were all the problems during the manufacture of that product, that particular vehicle. For vehicle identification number, every vehicle identification number, there is a digital twin file available in the Tesla factory. And basically, this is a pragmatic approach. What is a pragmatic approach? You do some classical hand calculations also by classical hand calculations for design from first principles, and computer design and simulation you can do as a digital markup. That all people are very fond of doing this, but you should not forget the importance of classical hand calculations. Before the computers came, before all these advancements in software came, what did we do? That is very important. If you don't cross-check at every stage, you will go completely wrongly. Any FEA or CFD should also have some rough calculations. If your result is not matching with the CFD or FEA, there is something totally wrong. Probably you have added some 2 more decimals, you have selected something wrongly in that there are so many drop-down menus. You might have selected something totally wrongly. So this is very important. That is why whenever you do some engineering analysis, you should validate that analysis or calibrate that analysis with some problem for which you already know the both input and output. So using the same thing, and if your hand calculation matches, then that methodology is correct for advanced complex analysis. So benchmarking regression also is an example. Design from first principles and benchmarking using regression, and when CAD/CAM see results, when they all come very close to the same result, that means you are correct. If somewhere something doesn't meet, then there is something wrong somewhere. Basically, that's why they say physical evaluation is the root of the numerical evaluation. Physical evaluation or physical testing, sample testing, physical modeling is very important before you actually start numerical evaluation. Completely working only on numerical evaluation or design simulation without any basis, you will go totally wrong. So design input parameters, you have curved weight. Okay, you have all the mechanical engineers are aware of what are all there in an automobile. In the for mechanical parameters, mainly gradability and fordability. Gradability is the slope on which your vehicle can climb, and fordability is the depth in water where the vehicle can go without problem. These are very important. So I explained. So even drag, wind resistance, everything is there. Okay, so kilowatts, battery chemistry, range per charge. These are all the mean charge, discharge, cycles to failure. This is very interesting reliability terminology. What is the braking system, battery swap option, charging plug standards. Charging is plugged in with wire or without wire, that is inductive. Charging plug standards or CHAdeMO or whatever. So all these have to be defined. And then P diagram, it's called a parameter diagram. In the vehicle steering system, it's a parameter diagram. Input, output, basically input is here, output is here. The process or the product, it can be used for both process as well as product design. So what are the design parameters? Like what are the kilowatt, RPM, whatever you are designing for, these are all design parameters. known to the designer and inputted into the product as a factor is called design parameters. What are noise factors? The environmental factors, somebody misuses, and you have designed it for some 10-degree slope. Somebody is using it at 35-degree slope. The car is trying to make the car go in that. So these are all the noise factors. There's a vibration, shock load, the potholes. These are all noise factors. So input, basically some energy is input, battery energy or something is put inside. So what are the inputs and signals and what are the noises? Signal to noise ratio. This is for designing an automotive steering system. Okay. Sometimes the vehicle, it tries to move sideways. It's called a lateral acceleration. That is a noise output. That is undesired output. So how to control that? That should be within controllable limits. So this is a P diagram. And this is a P diagram explained in a different way. This is what is y is equal to f of x. This y will be a function of x. That is what is we get in regression. And road conditions, tire air pressure, tire wear, turning radius, lateral acceleration. This lateral acceleration is an unintended output. Okay, and this trying to defeat the designer's purpose. Turning angular speed, mechanical energy, what is the input energy given on the steering wheel, and what is the energy at the rim of the wheel or torque, whatever. These are all the things which are input energy, design input parameters, noise parameters. All these result in an output, and maybe some undesirable thing also is coming along with that. The environment in which it is operating, it's one of the biggest noise factors. Maybe human beings, it may be climatic events, it may be unauthorized service, fitting of spurious parts, whatever. Right. So this is the equivalent diagram. You can see this if you download that VDA FMEA handbook. You'll be able to see all that. We don't have time. This is a functional block diagram, top level perspective, and you decide basically a range per charge, power, torque, charging time, cooling media. If the battery system is cooled, sometimes some gearbox also may be cooled. So you may have to decide all that. And what is the time required to service, or how many hours you need, say per week or per month? You have to design, you have to define and then meet it. And price, design for cost, range per charge, torque, speed characteristics, overnight charge, whether infrastructure is available, battery voltage, current is available at that voltage throughout the night, service interval, seating capacity. So automotive chassis systems, these are all common with the current IC engines. So you can borrow from them, you can use them. You can even retrofit some available vehicle if your budget is very small. So mean time to failure is for non-repairable single-use systems, single-use items. Mean time between failure is like bulb, some clutch plate or shock absorber, which have to be thrown, which have to, for which you'll have to buy a new item. These are useful for, these are for repairable items. I said it wrongly. Mean time to failure is for bulb, shock absorber, clutch plate and all that. Non-repairable items like disc brake, pad. Repairable items like engine, things like that, you will have to use mean time between failures. And mean time to repair, that is service duration. That's the downtime, the non-value adding activity. So modular design is very important. Yesterday, Professor Josephine talked about mass customization. Each vehicle is different. Each vehicle sold to a customer, it will have some features, some things which are different from what was sold to everybody else before. Frequent engineering revisions friendly. So if you make it modular design, then it is possible. Okay, frequent engineering revisions, this frequent engineering friendly, and loss reliability has to be addressed. Of course, when you split up into many parts, instead of reducing the number of parts, reliability gets affected. But that we can overcome. And it should be, this is actually standardization friendly. You can incorporate suppliers, standards also, one particular module standard also into your overall design. It facilitates common suppliers. Some supplier may be supplying something to your competitors also. So you can accommodate, there is no problem. You can accommodate. So only modular design permits all that. And you have lightweighting, metal to plastic. That is, convert the metal part plastic, or replace steel by aluminum, or give some ribbing in aluminum die casting, or steel die casting, steel gravity casting. Give a lot of ribs so that you can reduce the wall thickness. And generative design by topology optimization. Companies like Altair, they're very famous for giving the MSc, Nostrand, they are giving all that. This is basically coming under design for additive manufacturing, and they're using high strength steels. Systems engineering also is one of the methods for reducing lightweight. For lightweighting. So you can reduce the number of parts. You can also think of where to reduce the weight. So by addressing it in the earliest part of the project by systems engineering. Okay, high performance engineering plastics. They have given some turbocharger intake manifold. It is withstanding up to 220 degrees centigrade. They have kept it on a grill, a barbecue grill, and testing it. So it replaces aluminum and steel. Okay, it's basically a plastic supplied by a company called DSM. So there is another company called Stanil. Sorry, this is a Rilsan. Rilsan is supplying powder coating materials which are lighter. Those powders are lighter, so it's basically reducing the weight of the vehicle by some amount. And this Mann and Schimmel is a famous company which created a very high temperature plastic which can be used, in engine intake manifold, which is possible to be fitted on a hot IC engine. This was developed around 1995 by this German company. They found out a plastic intake manifold which was fitted on IC engines in Germany on test basis at that time, around 1995, 1990s. So this is the company. So you can see the slides later. And when you go for weight reduction, you can go for ribbing. You can reduce the wall thickness for a geared motor die, aluminum die casting. There are hexagon type of ribs. Each rib is the height of the rib is about 3 millimeters. They changed it into something like square ribs with micro ribs. The square rib height was only 1.5. The micro rib height was 0.5 to 0.75. So they found a lot of weight saving was there. So this kind of ideas are there. And generative design by parametric technology, Clio 7.1 is like thermocol, cellular structure, rib structure. Basically, it is following, it's called topology optimized design. It is trying to generate the idea like artificial intelligence, using artificial intelligence, how bones evolve in living beings, structural skeletal bones. Same method for the given weight. What is the for the given strength? What is the minimum possible weight? What is the minimum? It generates automatically. It can be manufactured only using 3D printing. There is no other method possible. Even injection molding or die casting for non-ferrous alloys not possible. So this is a close-up of that. So it's called a biomimicry. This computer algorithms automatically does it. And these are some parts. Now you can see in aircrafts and all some brackets are already like this. The honeycomb also is a biomimicry. Honeycomb panels used in aircrafts. And this is Altair Inspire Print 3D. That is one of the software. If the students learn this, they have a very good scope in 3D printing companies. This is one of the brackets manufactured using the topology optimization. That's what you see here is all support structure. In 3D printing, metal 3D printing, it will sag during hot state. So some support structure, removable support structure also has to be designed and printed. This has to be removed by machining and other methods. So, okay, they use Six Sigma analytics techniques, the design of experiments for 3D printing techniques. GE uses that. It's one of the heat exchangers using, they have a lot of cooling fins. You can see the very revolutionarily different cooling fins. Air will flow through this, and 17.4 precipitation hardenable steel. It's a stainless steel, and this is a heat exchanger input and output. And there are two plates. The heat exchanger is inside, but there are a lot of cooling fins, which is entirely different. The shape is revolutionarily different design. And aircraft brackets are already topology optimized. And yeah, this is here a 2.6 kg original machined bracket reduced to 0.766 kg by 3D printing using metal 3D printing using topology optimization and jet engine nozzle, GE jet engine nozzle. About 2,000 per month was being supplied before pandemic. This is a very hot and critical zone of the GE manufactured jet engine, aircraft jet engine. And they're saying lighter parts will, electric vehicle is going to help, additive manufacturing is going to help the electric vehicle industry by these kind of factors. Battery life will be extended and organic geometries. That's what I mentioned as biomimicry. So the highest possible strength to weight ratio going very close to natural objects like bamboo, a human bone and all that. Parts consolidation, number of parts can be reduced. Widest material choices. 3D printing now, a lot of materials are available, plastics, elastomers, ceramic, composites, metals, a lot of things are there. It's compromising without compromising strength. Okay, additively manufactured battery enclosures, flame retardant, polyamides. It's a nylon is called polyamide. They regulate the running charging temperature to 250 degree, and while parking it will be 10 degree, different temperature. Better value in low volume production with quicker time to market. You can additive 3D printing you can do very fast. It is not it does not have a tool development time or die development time running into several months. But of course, it's very costly. The spare parts and digital warehouses managing will become easy with 3D printing. So this is a 3D printed thermostat housing, and this is a copper heat sink, which will be useful for electric vehicle, any circuitry on the PCB itself, you can mount it. And these are materials available: Inconel, copper, H13, tool steels. These are some composite materials: onyx, carbon fiber, high strength, high temperature fiberglass. These are some intake manifolds made with Ultem. There are some parts, and within the wall thickness itself, in an assembly housing, in a casting or something, within the outer wall and inner wall, there is a lot of pores. This is called a lattice structure. So this is possible only with 3D printing. And advanced high strength steel and ultra high strength and low alloy steels. This is what they're saying, that if you add in the conventional way, the weight keeps going up. So you come through using if you use advanced high strength steels and ultra high strength and low alloy steels, you basically reduce the weight of the car. These are some of the steels: dual phased, transformation induced plasticity steel, twinning induced plasticity steel, complex phase, mild steel. Mild steel is used for comparison, and it's also used in the current car. And this is basically an electric vehicle. Mild steel, hot formed steel, and high strength low alloy steel, and bake hardening steel. So this is the percentage. You can go through the slides, it will be shared, and this is what is a typical battery operated electric vehicle, and this is a percentage of body structural mass. And this is a graph, how much each steel, each component, each steel is there pounds per vehicle. This is from US. I think that's why they have put it as pounds per vehicle. So this is a graph. Ultimate tensile strength is on the x-axis. Total elongation is there on the y-axis. Normally, if the strength becomes more, we know that elongation will come down. But for hot die forming or sheet metal manufacture in the car assembly shop, you need a good plasticity, good formability. So that is how they have found out. Now you can see here, this is the AHSS, this is UAHSS. So though the ultimate tensile strength is very high, comparatively high, still elongation also is high. This is the beauty of inventing these kind of steels. You can see these graphs later. There's one more graph. Here also you find this is the zone of interest, ultra high strength steel, mechanical properties. As usual, the y-axis is elongation that is written in German. Here also UTS written in German. Okay, these are all some of the chemical compositions of various steels which we have seen in the previous slides. And these are some of the famous manufacturers: ArcelorMittal, owned by Lakshmi Nivas Mittal, ThyssenKrupp, Gerdau, Brazil. Energy efficient design configurations. So you should go for shortest load path. That means now people are trying to put the motor inside the wheel hub itself. It's called a wheel motor or hub motor. So here you can use probabilistic design. So we need not worry, water will go inside and all. So what is the probability of the water going, water getting inside and damaging the whole hub, or even for that matter, for floor body battery vehicles, most of the vehicles, for keeping the center of gravity low, the entire floor, even Mahindra, Tata, Nexon, everywhere, it's in the floor. So in Bangalore and all, we find the flooding is very common. Flooding has become very common in all the global cities now. But what is the probability it can happen? It doesn't happen throughout the year. It doesn't happen every week. So you will have to design like that. Even then, you can have vents and all kept at height. Vent pipes can be at a much higher height, much higher height. So what is the probability of it happening? So you can still go ahead with that if you know the probability level. Okay, this is what happened when we developed the Daimler truck, 7.5 ton truck. They know danger is there, but they know the probability of that happening is very remote, and there is no other go. So you have to do that. So for that, you have to use probabilistic design approach. So you have to collect data. How many times in Bangalore, you have to go to Bangalore and collect how many times water logging happened, what are the depth of the water logging. Maybe you can collect other things like flyovers, what are the flyover slopes. So if you collect all that and statistically, if you process it, then you can say the probability of it is encountering that situation is only this much. So you can design that. So General Motors, about 11 modular designs for 11 vehicles. They manufactured about 15, 17 vehicles using 19 vehicles using just car parts of 11 electric vehicles. So that's called a platform design. That is the beauty of modular design. So electric vehicle, electric ecosystem, all these things: software, user desires, manufacturing. Of course, India has been ahead. Possible roles for Indian engineers. India is becoming global R&D hub. Value engineering, we can do frugal engineering, lean ideas, lean product design idea, innovation and trust, appropriate technology. So some third world countries are similar to India: Brazil, Mexico, Vietnam, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Nepal. All these countries, traffic, travel, user psychology, they're very similar. So you can modify whatever is the electric vehicle designed by some German or American company, you can modify. That wealth of knowledge is available only in India. and systems engineering, industrialization, design for manufacturability or design for assembly, jigs and fixtures, quality management systems, software development. There are millions and millions of lines of code in every car now. Global manufacturing hub. Again, we can become even retrofitting, hub of the whole world. A lot of old used vehicles. Why to waste the frames? Government is thinking of scrapping. Probably government can rethink and they test the mechanical strength of the bodies and say that this is useful for retrofitting. This is can be recycled as a retrofitted electric vehicle. So this is needs skills. Needs skills and a lot of job opportunities for engineers. And India is a global R&D hub. 3D modeling, engineering, design analysis, powertrain design, highly heterogeneous city traffic. Two-wheeler guys, three-wheeler, even animals, everybody there on the road. So powertrain gets overloaded. It has to be totally different from any powertrain originally designed in Germany, Holland, Belgium, or Sweden. Lightweighting, we have seen all the software, Python or MATLAB Link, hardware development, electronics, aesthetics. Aesthetics is very important. The buyer has to be tempted to buy an electric vehicle. So outer design along with CFD for streamlining for aerodynamic resistance. Model development, which is for basically for infrastructure. You have to tempt the investors to invest in infrastructure. So for that you need business model. So you need a lot of MBAs. So some needed skill sets: automotive technology, vehicle dynamics is more or less common with the IC engine technology. The center of gravity, axle load, track, height of gravity, turning radius, everything more or less comes similarly, more or less the same. So none of the things learned will go waste. So manufacturing technology, Lean Six Sigma, joining, cutting tech, laser welding, electric welding, water jet cutting, prototyping, benchmarking, industrialization. Yeah, we have seen all this. 3D modeling, mathematical modeling, ANSYS, ADAMS, design for service, maintainability, Altair, design for additive manufacturing, biomimicry. The engineers will have to run for skeletons and study now, like doctors, you have to buy some skeletons, bones, maybe some sheep bones, cow bones, buy them from the market and study, and then analyze how it has formed. We're giving the maximum strength to weight. We cost estimations. Engineers should develop love for cost estimation, like Costimeter software is available. Battery technology, learn some electrochemistry, learn how to do coding, learn some electronics. Mechanical engineers should learn electronics. These are available. Okay, these are all recommended. Clay modeling also. Plaster of Paris modeling of the car body, outer, and all that. And any engineer should be multidisciplined, multi-physics, should be capable of handling multi-physics analysis, should be multi-skilled as well as multitasking. A multidisciplined approach. The electronic, mechanical, all engineers should combine software, coding, mass production, manufacturing engineers, everybody. Basically, every mechanical engineer should be about 20% electrical engineer, electronic engineer, and 30% software engineer. Likewise, electrical engineer should be only 50% electrical engineer, 20% mechanical, and 30% software engineer. That is what's called a multi-discipline or multi-skilled. And drivetrain architecture, this you can see, inductive charging. These are all very good opportunities for students. And skill sets, we have shown some model of a digital markup, digital twin. And yeah, this is a company which started with brake pipes manufacturer. It's based in Germany. Now they are giving modular frames for building your own electric vehicles. This is a parallel. This is a TI Cycles India is exactly going through the same history of evolution. So we hope that they will probably make EV chassis available for others to come buy and build their own electric vehicles. Because whatever this company, Benteler Germany did, these people are also doing. So they're also now investing in electric vehicle market. It's a Murugappa Group company, TI Cycles India. More charging stations needed. State government should work together. There's uncertainty about charging standards, protocols, fast development of electric motors, which is required. Power electronics, vehicle controls. We have seen options for alternative battery chemistry because raw materials are being controlled by an unfriendly country, and raw material shortage is going to come. Lithium is going to be a huge shortage. So we don't have time for this. Present scenario, research on fuel cell is happening. Okay, we will go into this. Okay. GM, I think we have seen. Yeah, 19 vehicles are made using 11 vehicle modular components. It's very interesting. Ashok Leyland is also making some 55 trucks, not electric vehicle, general current fuel. 55 trucks using the components meant for some 10. Okay, so GM Saltium, this is a battery floor. battery as a floor or batteries in the floor. This Mahindra electric vehicle, and this Mahindra is again a skateboard concept, range extended electric vehicle. This REE is a foreign company. Both are partnering to make electric vehicles in India. It's a Mahindra Electric. That's a separate company. Mahindra Electric is a separate company now. Battery pack as floor. It's a skateboard concept. It's called a skateboard concept. For Siemens and some other companies forming a collaboration to make it. Ford makes cars since 1907, but Tesla came and threw it out because of these modular and other concepts. So what are the modular concepts? This is a transmission drive. I'm sorry, this is blocking, I think, this drop down menu. You can make it modular. The battery portion can be removed from bottom or maybe as a frontal portion, or the bottommost portion compartment, passenger compartment can be removable. So like Lego block concept, you can use for modular design as far as swapping or whatever is concerned. So Opel GM hydrogen fuel cell car is using that. So far, we have never seen passenger cars like this, but this is made as a module. The passenger compartment comes from different place and then gets assembled. That's how we can make more cars using same common components. It's called a modular design. So BMW i3, see here, the body is kept on that. This body, if you change, it becomes another car. Same bottom portion, it becomes i8. And Ford electric vehicle, battery swap, fixed battery, battery swap, flash charging, electric highway, wireless inductive power transfer, fuel cell. So this is a fixed battery subsystem functional block diagram. Like Ashok Leyland has successfully made for battery swapping for their buses, city buses. It takes about 600 kilogram battery is swapped in about 10 minutes. Okay, so they have successfully done that. You can see that in the sideways. And this is again another photograph. They're saying that every 10 kilometer should be swapped. That means for 10 kilometer only it will run. The swapping time should be 2 minutes, but currently it is about 10 minutes. They are trying to reach 2 minutes. This is the time everybody spends in the petrol bunk for filling petrol or diesel. So benchmarking against the current practice. Very interesting. India is a key proponent. When India advocated battery swapping as a key technology changer, other world countries were laughing at it. They said you increase the range per charge, you invest in infrastructure, charging infrastructure. But now even advanced countries like UK are seriously considering battery swap for popularizing electric vehicles. Very interesting. India's ideas are being accepted throughout the world. India is usually conservative when it comes out with ideas, but now it is now going to be a norm in other various countries. So Leyland e-bus, ample swap station. This is a fast charging. It'll just like it touches somewhere and changes. The electric highway we have seen yesterday. E-highway, wireless bus power transfer from the bottom. When the bus stops in a bus stop, it charges from the bottom without touching anything. Inductive coil. This is a system diagram, functional block diagram. The fuel cell vehicles, fuel cell electric vehicle, and this is a conclusion comparing all that. Upfront cost, range anxiety for all these 6 options. Time to charge. You can see all of these when I share the slides. This is a battery swap for a scooter, as seen in Britain. The charging stations are there, and under the seat of the scooter, you'll have to open the seat as the lid and take out the battery and go and plug it in, and it will automatically start charging. You can remove already charged batteries and put it in your scooter. And for cars, in Britain, there is a robo, and there is a scissors platform which lifts all the 4 wheels. There is a robo, crawler robo, which goes below the car, removes the battery, and then fits the new battery, charged battery. It's a battery swap. This is what is a bottom, module, removable module or bottom battery swap at the bottom of the car. So these are close-up photos, and yeah, this is yes. So electrification, you can use a brake hybridization, brake energy recovery by means of intelligent alternator control also. The alternator, charging alternator also can be used as a brake energy recovery mechanism. And this is for reliability testing. So you have to use, highly accelerated live testing or multiple environment overstress test as per MIL standard 810, highly accelerated live test. It can be using design of experiments versus highly accelerated live test, combined environment reliability test, statistical reliability and safety methodologies are used, fracas and multiple environment overstress test. It's also called as thunder and lightning test. Humidity cycling, this is a humidity at a time. All these factors are loaded as stressors. Okay, temperature cycling, voltage cycling, transients like load dump, field decay, sometimes vibration, dust also will be done at the same time. So about 5 years lifespan, you can simulate, by about a week or 10 days, it will be going through this test, and it will tell you that what this vehicle or battery system will go through in 5 years. I'm giving as an example. So these are called accelerated life testing, and battery cost metrics. $72 per kilowatt hour is needed. It is phase one, 100 to 120 kilowatt hour. First go to 100, 120 in phase one, then you come to 72, then 50% of the cost of EV is battery. So energy density is another important parameter, like 100 watt hours per liter, 250 watt hours per liter. There is a lead acid is 100 and lithium ion is 250 watt hours per liter. That is how lead acid, lithium ion batteries are more favored for electric vehicles. Otherwise, half of the car will be filled only with lead acid batteries. So these are very important. 100 kilowatt, yeah, this is what is there. And various charging standards. These are charging plug standards. Tesla supercharger, CHAdeMO, and CCS combo. I think this is adopted by China also, I think, or this is evolved by China, I don't know. So these are all the various type of charging standards. Whereas the nationwide standardization is absent in India, it is actually crippling the industry. Advantages of economies of scale is being fully lost. Every manufacturer is trying to come out with their own type of battery, which cannot be swapped with any other car manufacturer's car. So government bodies like ARAI, CII, Automotive Components Manufacturers Association, so many organizations, societies are there. They must all get together and enforce on the government, and the government should enforce on the manufacturers to go for a common standard: charging plug, charging voltage, kilowatt, battery size, and various things. It's giving lead. Now it is this lack of national standards in India is giving advantage to countries like China and Japan, who are supplying all these systems like plugs and standards. So forex outflow is there to these countries as probably royalty. And battery cycle, we say that lead acid can go through 500 to 1000 times in a means charge discharge cycles to failure, whereas lithium ion it goes 1000. It's also at the height, double of lead acid, but still more life extension is required. MTTF should be increased. Regenerative range increase by regenerative braking, drag coefficient reduction, lightweighting, battery swap. Battery swap is basically horse relay carriage type. Horse relay of old horse carriages concept. Basically, this was borrowed from that. And roof solar panel. So regenerative braking, braking a 1500 kilo cross vehicle weight vehicle from 100 kilometers per hour to zero speed consumes about 0.16 kilowatt hour of energy. It goes waste as heat and frictional material getting debris falling on the road. So why not we use it? So that's what led to regenerative braking concept. So these are various concepts: kinetic energy recovery system, and you can go through them. Chevrolet Volt, a famous plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. The range was increased by regenerative braking and streamlining the car with coefficient of discharge. So there are various companies. Tata Motors is also supplying to others, trying to assemble, manufacture electric vehicles. Benteler, Bosch, Benteler, I think, trying to sell in India. Lucas TVS, Trontac, EMF Innovations, Coimbatore for two-wheelers, essentially two-wheeler and three-wheelers. AVL, Germany also. Ziptron is a battery pack, floor battery pack, which can be purchased from Tata and used for your own electric vehicles. So these are all the specifications, IP67 and fully waterproof. So please go through them later. Benteler, this is making a very interesting, I think they are giving the whole frame itself. It's made in Germany. Benteler, that is used in Pininfarina vehicle. This is a vehicle made from that space frame. Can you believe it? And Lucas TVS is one of the oldest automotive electricals company, making all these generators, alternators, and drive motors for three-wheeler traction motors. And they are collaborating with the Electrobit. I believe it's a Belgium company. It's one of the leaders, electric vehicle leaders. So Lucas TVS is finally gearing up to take on the market. And this is Trontac batteries. This is EMF Coimbatore. This is a Heinzmann hub motor, wheel hub motor. Heinzmann supplies hub motors and huge equipment to very big applications also, very high torque levels also. This is a hub motor which was fitted in a GD Naidu concern prototype bicycle in 1999. It's a Heinzmann hub motor. Hub is here. Complete electric drive is here. So this is how the bike was made. Okay, so we can engineers trying to look for career opportunities. So you will have to learn software like Altair. Here HyperWorks is there, HyperCrash is there, HyperView. You have OptiStruct, that is for topology optimization using lattice structures and other methods, and various things are there. We don't have time here. Radios is there. Data analytics software also is available, and it's called Altair Knowledge Works. Yeah, color coded. You can see in the websites. So this is design for additive manufacturing is also available, and yeah, these are for design for additive manufacturing. Simufact additive. This is from Hexagon MSC Software. Along with ANSYS is also one of the oldest companies. McNeil Sandler Corporation USA. And Digimat is a digital machine material library. And PTC Creo 7.0, Altair Materialize. This is for printing. Essentially, they are useful for metal additive manufacturing also. Okay, so thermomechanical COMSOL is basically it's a famous coupled analysis software. You can use it for the cooling of motor or cooling of the battery compartment, combined mechanical stress and electromagnetic flux analysis, things like that. So these are famous. CFD is Fluent and Fluidyne. And there are various R&D organizations which are working on electric vehicle research. Probably you can contact them for joining. Rossi Group has now become the Ola Group now, Krishnagiri. So they are going to be the largest scooter factory in India, in Krishnagiri. This is what we talked about in the previous days. Okay, if you become members in these associations, you will gain a lot of knowledge as I have gained. IEEE may be involved in the battery standards, charging standards and all. And Indian Statistical Institute you can use for Six Sigma reliability. Some references, yeah, good. I think we have about 10 minutes for question and answers. Let me try to answer. Whoever wants to contact me later on as any query or any further assistance, they can contact me. Yeah, I'm open for queries. Yes. Okay. First of all, hello.
Thank you for your presentation, sir.
Yeah.
So some of the questions were posted in the chat box, sir.
Okay, let me see.
I will read this, sir. I will read the questions.
Yeah. Should I? If I click on the chat, it will open, isn't it? You cannot
Yes, sir.
go.
Yes, sir.
But how to go back to the slides if required? Okay, let us see. Okay, chat is opening.
Read this, sir.
Okay, I can read it myself. Okay, thank you. I will spare you the trouble. Yeah, definitely PPT will be shared with the institute. You can definitely get it from them. That's with that purpose only I was rushing through some slides. It'll be of great help. Definitely will give you more than the slides. Also, I can help you if you contact me later. Okay, let me see if there are doubts. There are some doubts.
Which duty cycle is used?
Yeah, which duty cycle is used extensively by manufacturers? For example, does Toyota use Japanese duty cycle and Tesla? No, they don't do that. If that car is for a Chinese market, then if it is made in US also, they use a duty cycle which is relevant to China. And if it is a car going to be marketed in Japan, whether it is manufactured in Japan or whether it is manufactured in India or Brazil or US, they have to use the duty cycle relevant to Japan, because it is for the user, and for Japan also there is a city drive cycle is there, and semi-city drive and semi-rural drive, various combinations are there. So it's a very advanced topic. It is like simulation. They will even incorporate it with Monte Carlo simulations, and they will do reliability test cycling. There's a multiple environment test. This is a very complicated topic, but it has to be relevant for the market, because the customer, right from the first day of purchase, they should be happy about the way it behaves. And there are some, even for Tesla, there are some teething troubles still. They are not yet out of the woods. Even for the new cars recently manufactured and and supplied in China and US, there were some serious issues. Some charging fire, overheating. issues were there. They quickly, they quickly fixed it. I hope I have answered to your satisfaction. Which duty cycle is used extensively for? Okay. Okay. Many have complimented. I am really thankful to them. Kindly provide. Okay. Yesterday, ARA has released the LV charger technology. That is low voltage. Yeah, I have not seen that. I have not even downloaded the charging guidance handbook. Sorry, because I was preparing for this and some other activities. ARA is very good. Yeah, ARA is also very proactive. But compared to the equivalent Chinese organizations, we seem to be lagging behind very terribly. Very sorry to say this. They seem to be going really, really proactively. So we will have to, I think all the academic institutes and CII, Automobile Component Manufacturers Association, even SAE India, all these institutes and Tata ERC, Research Center, Ashok Leyland Research Center, all will have to combine together and come with some charging standards, and basically they can pool together their own statistical data. What is the maximum, what is the kilowatt hours, what is the maximum frequency of usage in India, and what are the failures, basically charging failures, somewhere the vehicle didn't pull, it's switched off, or it could not climb some gradient. They have to share these things. But because of competition, they don't share. That is a weakness in India. Very much. India is emerging as the second largest, third or fourth largest electric vehicle design hub. Basically, Europe, China, and US, they are the top three, electric vehicle design R&D hub. Now, India is probably the fourth largest electric vehicle R&D hub. They're saying this will be the second largest electric vehicle market in the world after some 10-15 years. I think I am seeing the same feedback. Is the trend for hybrid electric vehicle is declining now? No, hybrid electric vehicle will be there for some time because India is a late starter. Actually, according to for electric vehicle technology, we are behind China. China is in some of the things they are even ahead of US and Europe. Certain things in very proactive government policies, but there are some troubles happening in China. It's not able to implement their policies. In the last 5 years, there are a lot of economic and social problems, political problems inside China. So they have whatever government policy was there, they were not able to implement, but they are going ahead very fast. So hybrid electric vehicle, in fact, that is the thing. They are saying that fully electric vehicle will in India, it will take some time. So we will be having only hybrid electric vehicle for some more time, maybe some 10, 12 years at least, or 15 years at least, and that will be the last of the IC engines. And hybrid electric vehicle and range extended electric vehicles are the future for India. I think, okay, handbook is implementation is shared. Thanks a lot, sir, Bibin, sir. Are there any other questions, please? I think still we have some time. Basically, I believe that my answers were satisfactory to the people who have raised those queries. Are they comfortable with my answers?
Yes, sir. They are satisfied, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I mentioned about probabilistic approach. That is very important. The probability is very important. In life also, many things we decide based on probability. We don't straight away decide what is the probability of it raining and what is the probability of that shop being open. Then probably I will take my vehicle that way. So mentally also, when we decide something, like in which route, normally in Indians, we take out the car or two-wheeler, we finish so many tasks before coming back. Just for one task, we don't start the bike or car. Good, that is very good. The Indians are basically frugal in nature, and that's what they are trying to bring into their designs and ideas and all that. And basically, they said electric two-wheelers and buses. Electric two-wheelers will be the starting. Electric two-wheelers and three-wheelers will be the majority drivers of electric mobility in India. China started saying that we are not a country, we will not bother about two-wheelers and three-wheelers. We will straight away go for the largest electric vehicle car market of the world. But unfortunately, with all the recent economic problems and trade sanctions from US and all that, they are now feeling two-wheelers and three-wheelers are good for the current economic situation for the world. And that's very interesting. India, we don't try to go for very advanced things very fast. We seem to be going very slowly. but Indians seem to be thinking very correctly about what is going to happen in the global economic situations. So battery swap also, I asked in an international seminar, they said, no, battery swap, we don't recommend. In fact, we don't recommend at all. Because a Holland or Belgium company engineer was answering in the webinar. He said, we are only trying to increase the range per charge. And in our country, we will have a lot of charging stations. We will calculate statistically how many stations are required how many kilometers one charging station should come, all that. But now everybody is saying in Britain, one of the richest countries, saying that battery swapping is one of the practical technologies. If electric vehicle technology has to succeed in the immediate future, battery swap is a very good idea. That's what they're saying. So a lot of communication is required, a lot of information is to be gathered. I was feeling, okay, probably India is still a developing country, only here we are talking about swapping. So it's like that. So globally, they are saying that China has again given a re-look at, giving up on the two-wheeler, three-wheeler idea. Now they are saying they will also start giving importance to two-wheelers and three-wheelers for electric vehicles. Now, India is very interesting model globally. So basically, two-wheelers and three-wheelers will adopt the electric technology, and also government buses. May not be trucks and all that. Cars, electric vehicle as cars as electric vehicles may take a lot of time in India, because our buyer psychology is, you will see, how many people are buying electric vehicles, whether there is any batteries charging problem in the night. Well, we know that there is not much voltage in the government electric line, in the grid. Even houses going through voltage problems, under voltage, sometimes high voltage, frequency problem, all that. Power failure, blackouts, brownouts, everything is there. So India is a global model, it's a successful model. So electric two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and buses. That is, from this end to this end, both ends will be starting. In the middle, it will take some time. So this is a very practical model. So I feel every expert company is now closely watching what is happening in India. And there is also another interesting thing. If you give me one more minute, companies like Maruti Suzuki in 1984, 85, at that time the name Maruti and all was not there. Maruti Maruti Udyog Limited was yet to be formed. They marketed a huge number of cars, Suzuki cars made in Japan to US, and all of them became failures. The shiploads of Suzuki cars were returning to Japan. At the same time, India signed collaboration with Suzuki and started Maruti Udyog Limited in 1984. And see, they became such a big success because of importance to quality systems, procedures like DFMEA, root cause analysis, fishbone diagram, Pareto, everything, Six Sigma, process capability. And then they told the whole world, look, my car is running in Indian roads. So why are you questioning about it? They thought Indian roads are the worst. And that was a bad publicity for India. But they said they use India as a proving ground, test track. This is, my car is running in India. Then why are you bothered about buying my car in your country? Then they were able to take foothold in so many countries. Same thing will happen to electric vehicles. Our driving patterns, driving discipline, stop and go traffic jam. Suddenly a cow will come through the road. So many things. So many people will come on the wrong, no entry side, wrong direction. They will be coming in front of your vehicle. So if your electric vehicle is able to run in all this, you can say that if any company has to develop the most successful electric vehicle, they have to come to India. Yes, thank you. Are there any further questions? I think I overshot the time limit by 3 minutes.
No issues, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks for your wonderful presentation, sir. Let me summarize the session.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. The electric vehicle recent trends. This is the topic for today's session. And Sarah started with introduction. Then he has moved on to the system engineering. Then he has discussed about energy efficient design and its configurations. And he has elaborated about light weighting through different techniques. Then he has discussed energy recovery routes to increase the range, and he has elaborated about Indian frugal engineering and Indian ecosystems and opportunities in electric vehicles, and what are the research opportunities are there for electric vehicle technologies. So on behalf of RMK CET College and the Department of Mechanical Engineering, we thank Mr. Mohan Kalayappan sir for accepting our invitation and delivered his lecture today. Sir, your presentation is an eye-opener for the participants, and some of them got good knowledge transfer on electric vehicles, sir. We hope we will meet in the future events also. So thanks for accepting our invitation and delivering the lecture, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And